In 1989, Benny Hill filmed a scene that would destroy everything. For 34 years, his show made millions laugh. But this one sketch changed it all. The Benny Hill Show wasn't just a production. It was a reflection of one man's mind. Of course, all that effort came at a price. Within 48 hours, 2,147 complaints flooded in. Sponsors pulled out overnight. Feminists launched protests. By 1989, each episode cost around $450,000 to make. That's over $1.4 million today. The money went into even his biggest fans turned away. The BBC called it costumes, location shoots, and those wild chase scenes. The moment comedy died, it was packed with extras. Thames Television didn't know had already made them $100 million over the years. But his humor didn't come out of nowhere. It was in his blood. His grandfather started to dip, and costs kept climbing. Henry Hill worked as a circus clown in Southampton between 1890 and 1910. Henry wasn't just any clown. He was known for pratfalls, those funny, exaggerated falls, and silent mime acts that could make a crowd burst out laughing. But what really made him special was how he pulled the audience into the act. He would make eye contact, improvise on the spot, and turn strangers into part of the show. This wasn't just talent. It became a family tradition. Benny's father, Alfred, joined the circus at 16 and continued the legacy. Their small flat above a butcher's shop wasn't just a home. It was a training ground. It was here that the Hill family's comedy roots grew even deeper, laying the groundwork for everything Benny would later become. Sunday afternoons in that cramped flat were anything but quiet. Alfred would turn the living room into a comedy classroom. From the age of 8, Benny learned the art of falling without getting hurt, matching facial expressions to punchlines, and using everyday furniture as props. It wasn't just play, it was practice. Alfred drilled him with routines, and Benny copied every move. Timing was everything, and even the creaky floorboards and meat smells from the butcher shop became part of the atmosphere that shaped his imagination. What started as father-son bonding became a full-blown comedy education. Years later, when Benny changed characters in seconds or nailed a slapstick scene on TV, it all traced back to those Sundays filled with laughter, discipline, and trial and error comedy. But comedy wasn't the only thing that shaped him. As a teen, Benny worked with Hans Dairy in Eastleigh, helping deliver milk in the cold, dark mornings. He guided a horse-drawn cart through empty streets, meeting quirky people and watching odd little moments unfold. Years later, he turned those memories into a song, Ernie, the fastest milkman in the West. It sold over 400,000 copies and stayed at #1 on the UK charts for 4 weeks in 1971. The character of Ernie was based on real life, including a bread delivery driver named Ted, who Benny once competed with. But then, in 1942, everything changed. Benny was drafted into the British Army. He started as a mechanic, then moved to the Royal Engineers as a searchlight operator. Even in uniform, he couldn't stop performing. He entertained soldiers with songs, skits, and impressions. The final episode still drew 9.58 million viewers, a big number, but far from the 21 million they once had. And then there was the music. Yakety Sax was the fast, goofy tune that played during the chase scenes. It was written back in 1963 by Boots Randolph and James Q. Spider Rich. Benny adopted it in 1969, and it became the sound of the show. The sped-up footage, the silly costumes, the running in circles, it all hit harder with that catchy tune in the background. It was so popular that in 2015, ITV viewers voted it the UK's favorite theme song. Today, if you hear that music, you can't help but picture people running in chaos. It's been parodied in films, politics, and late-night comedy. Benny may be gone, but that tune and the laughter it brought still echoes. However, the show wasn't without backlash. It started with a bold statement in 1987. Rising comedian Ben Elton didn't just criticize the Benny Hill Show, he torched it. On stage and in print, he accused Hill of promoting violence against women through his comedy. We know in Britain, women can't even walk safe in a park anymore, he said, blaming the show's sexist tone. That hit like a bomb. Hill still pulled in over 21 million viewers in the 1970s, and many still loved him. He even mocked himself later on, appearing as Benny Elton on Harry Enfield and Chums, chased by women to the tune of yakety sax. His point was clear. Comedy wasn't just about laughs, it shaped the culture, and the culture was changing fast. 2 years later, the show crossed a line it couldn't walk back. In 1989, Hill aired a beauty pageant sketch. At first glance, it looked like his usual formula, cheeky humor and pretty girls. But this time, the jokes leaned darker. The women's so-called talents involved clumsy stripteases and accidental nudity. The camera lingered far too long, capturing every exposed moment. What used to be playful now felt pervy. The humor wasn't clever, it was creepy. Critics and viewers didn't laugh, they winced. It looked more like softcore voyeurism than comedy. The feminist movement had gained serious traction by then, and Hill's content looked like it had stepped out of the 1950s. Thousands complained. The network panicked, but that was only the start. In the same year, another sketch caused even more outrage. Those troupe shows became his first real stage. They taught him how to read a crowd, how to adapt, and how to make laughter out of anything, no matter how tough life got. Then came the moment that changed his life, and British comedy forever. On March 23, 1949, the rules of comedy for the TV age. By 1954, just 5 years after that first TV appearance, Benny was voted Television Personality of the Year. That wasn't just a nice trophy. It meant he'd officially arrived. British audiences loved him. His comedy wasn't stuck in the past. It was fresh, visual, and playful. He'd write his own material, constantly try new characters, and parody whatever was trending at the time. Winning that award also paved the way for something even bigger, the launch of The Benny Hill Show in 1955. What started as one man's experiment became one of the most iconic and influential comedy shows in British history. But Benny didn't carry the show alone. One of the most important pieces of the puzzle was Henry McGee. Born in 1928, McGee originally wanted to be a doctor. But when his father died, he turned to acting instead. He trained at the Italia Conti Stage Academy and worked in theater before joining The Benny Hill Show in 1969. For more than 2 decades, he played the calm, well-spoken man surrounded by madness. McGee was the perfect straight face in the middle of chaos, never cracking even when things got wild. And then there was Jackie Wright, the tiny, bald man with the most slapped head in Britain. Born in Belfast in 1904, Jackie was just 4 feet 11 inches tall. He started out as a car body assembler for Cadillac in the U.S., but returned to the UK during the Great Depression and ended up in music hall. Benny spotted him in the 1960s, and he quickly became a fan favorite. Bob Todd brought a different energy to the team. Born in 1922 in Kent, he started out studying dentistry, joined the RAF during the war, and even tried farming. His big break came when he met writers Ray Galton and Alan Simpson in a pub. Bob had a droopy face and a gift for looking confused, which made him perfect for playing policemen, generals, or judges who'd fall flat on their faces. He joined the show in 1968 and stayed until the end. As the show evolved, Benny added something new: Hill's Angels. These were the dancing women who started appearing in the 1980s. They who had defended Hill for years started turning their backs. Sexier, and also Hill, playing a doctor, examined bikini-clad women in a clinic. The punchline? There wasn't one. Just long, uncomfortable shots of the women's bodies while Hill leered. No dialogue, no wit. Just a lecherous character and women reduced to props. It wasn't just bad. It was offensive. Viewers flooded Thames Television with letters. The Guardian called the scene embarrassingly out of step. The Independent slammed it as a throwback to a time when women were expected to laugh at their own humiliation. Feminist groups launched protests and wrote scathing op-eds. One writer called it exactly the kind of humor we've been fighting against for 20 years. Then came the moment that shattered everything. A close-up, just a prolonged slow-motion shot of a woman adjusting her swimsuit while Hill ogled her. It wasn't a joke, it was exploitation. Within 48 hours, 2,247 people had filed complaints. That was a record. Viewers said it made them embarrassed to watch TV with their families. Even Hill's defenders struggled to explain it away. The sketch wasn't just tone-deaf, it was aggressively out of step with the times. For many, that single shot was the final straw. The press tore it apart. The Times called it exploitative vaudeville. The Guardian echoed the outrage, saying the sketch belonged to an era Britain had left behind. Hill, once a comedy legend, was now being publicly dissected by critics who once praised him. Even veteran reviewers admitted the show had grown stale, out of touch, and, worst of all, irrelevant. The media turned cold, and so did the advertisers. Sponsors like Cadbury and Ford started to pull out. Protests and boycott threats made them nervous. No company wanted to be associated with a brand that mocked women on national television. The damage wasn't just reputational, it was financial. Producing an episode of The Benny Hill Show now cost $450,000, about $1.4 million today. Without advertiser support, that number was unsustainable. The show's death wasn't dramatic, it was business. Behind all of this was a major cultural shift. The 1980s feminist movement wasn't a fringe protest anymore, it was the mainstream. Hill's sketches, especially his Hill's Angels segments, where women were chased around in bikinis, now looked ridiculous. Younger audiences had moved on. Shows like The Young Ones and French and Saunders offered edgier, smarter comedy. The old formula, men chasing women to silly music, felt prehistoric. A 1988 YouGov poll made the problem clear. 68% of British women under 40 said they found Hill's show dated and offensive. Even 44% of men in the same age group agreed. That divide grew wider when compared to older viewers who still remembered Hill with fondness. The numbers proved it. Benny Hill's audience was aging and shrinking. The younger generation didn't just dislike the show, they rejected it. By 1989, it flat and barely left it. Friends said he went out only for groceries or the occasional short trip to Europe. He stopped attending industry events, stopped returning calls. Some said he was depressed, others said he just gave up. He told one friend, "A little pat on the back would have been nice." After more than 20 years with Thames, he got none, just a quiet exit and silence. But behind that silence, something else was happening. His health was failing. He had heart disease and arthritis. He was in pain, but he kept it hidden. By 1992, he had a heart attack and was told his kidneys were failing too. Doctors advised surgery and dialysis. Hill refused both. He didn't want treatment. He just wanted peace. The arthritis made movement hard, and even his final TV appearances had to be adjusted around his limited mobility. But the public never saw this side. Hill smiled on screen while privately breaking down. He had one last chance. He had one last chance. In 1991, a new show was planned, Benny Hill's World Tour. Only one episode, Greetings from New York, was completed. It became his final performance. Other offers came in. Central Independent Television even sent him a contract in early 1992. But Hill never signed it. He died the day it arrived. He had also refused offers from other networks, including the one that canceled him. Maybe he didn't want the spotlight anymore. Maybe he didn't trust the industry. Or maybe he just knew the world had moved on. On April 20th, 1992, Benny Hill was found dead in his flat. He was 68. 2 days earlier, he had been sitting in his armchair watching TV. That's where he died, alone. His body was discovered only after neighbors complained about this. Looked through the window. There was Hill, surrounded by unopened letters and stacks of old videotapes. The cause of death was coronary thrombosis, a heart attack caused by a blood clot. He had been dead for 2 days. A man who once brought laughter to millions passed away quietly, unseen and forgotten. That was the final punchline. One he never intended. He directed, edited, and sometimes even picked the music. He traveled with a notepad, writing jokes wherever he went. He didn't like outside input either. If someone suggested a change, he'd politely refuse. He had a vision, and he stuck to it. That level of control was rare in British TV, but it gave the show a voice